Hi, Carlos. I have to help, but I'm gonna send you a picture of the line. It's been a pleasure learning with you.
Really, how many Floridians could they go in one day? This came from one.
Oh, yeah? Oh, wow.
Hi, Rob. I'm I have a contact. Hi, Rabbi.
Hi, Erech Miel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol midvarim. Okay, we're finishing off Perek Zion. We're holding Iggeres HaTeshuvah, Perek Zion. Huh?
This is like,
Have a good night. Have a good Shabbos and fast.
so Rabbi, what's,
Page
what's the
194.
Maskana? Is it fast 5:47 or is it 6:06?
547.
6 is for the brain.
For who?
For brain.
So, so you,
547.
that's a better.
Burn is 5 weeks. 5 weeks. 547.
Yeah. So page 194. Yeah, both good. Page 194.
Yeah, you have questions? Why? I thought you wanted to be found. What? Good insurance. Oh, healthier. All right, you're on.
You're right, always.
Recently, with Fabrengen with my grandmother. My grandmother, Baruch Hashem, is San Kapitel Kuf Beis in Telem. So she grew up in a town called Homil, because in Russia they can't say the H. It was a Jewish city. Isaac Homler, 200 years ago, was the Rav of Homel. It was a Yidden Homel. It was a Ish Poshut. His name was Reb Avrom Brechuner. Reb Avrom was trying to get certificates to get out of Russia and go to Eretz Yisrael. It was 1926, and it was a Fabrengen. It was a Purim Fabrengen. And he said L'chaim, and he asked the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, for a bracha that he should go to Eretz Yisrael. The Frierdiker Rebbe said, Mach do Eretz Yisrael. Ouch. That means you're not going to Israel. So he says, Vi macht man do Eretz Yisrael? How do I make this Eretz Yisrael? So the Frierdiker Rebbe went like this, pointing to the door. In other words, we're not going to talk business right now. It's the middle of Fabrengen. Tomorrow you'll come for your chiddush, or the day after you'll come for your chiddush, and we'll talk business. The story was told by the Mendel Futterfass years later, when in the 30s, when things were really, really, really difficult, and people were partially being taken away and killed, and and with yeshivas, you couldn't have a yeshiva in one place, even in hiding. You couldn't have a yeshiva 50, 60, 70. It was impossible. It wasn't B'chadei Sheyasa. They had in different cities a yeshiva, 10 Talmidim, 12 maximum was a Maggid Shira in Talmidim. And that was Shaykh. There was a yeshiva, 10 Chatmimim, in the city of Homil. This Rebbe Avram was very involved. So, if Fabrengen, he took much l'chaim, and Mendel said, read that Fabrengen, he asked the Frierdiker Rebbe about Eretz Yisrael, and Frierdiker Rebbe said, what happened? He said, I asked the Frierdiker Rebbe what to do. Frierdiker Rebbe said, I want you to fast for 3 days. It wasn't mean 3 days straight, 72 hours. Mafsok night you eat, but you fast 3 days. After 3 days, go into one of the Botik Nesias, it's a shul, city of Homel, had 50 shuls until the Soviets closed them all down. They were all Jews. The city, it was not a big city, but say 30,000 residents, 29,000 were Jews. Go into shul, pour your heart out, and then you'll know what to do. So he fasted for 3 days, and after 3 days, he walked into shul, Mincha Maidev. It was still oldies. They would come to shul. They were, it was their children were all not going to be religious, but they were still coming to shul. And he got up on the bima, he gave a big clap. He said, Raboisai, most of you are eating chazat treif. But what can you do? There's nothing else to eat. Virtually everyone here is working on Shabbos. What can we do? If you didn't go to work, you wouldn't have parnasa. I can't blame you. He kept on going on and on and on. He says, but one thing is unforgivable, that you're sending your children to the shkolas, to the public school. You know what's going to happen? When you're going to die, you'll be buried like a dog. No one's even going to say Kaddish for you. By the time he got to say his last sentence, the Gaboim and the Shamoshim and the Shul, which are all by now working for the KGB, already dragged him off the bima. But it was too late. He already said his piece. Everyone heard what he had to say. It was the talk of the town. That night, clap off and tear. One person comes quietly, says it about Ram. I was really taking what you said. What can we do? Another Yid. What can we do? The first thing he did was, he got customers. He made a Shir Tanya. It's Shir Tanya. Yidden should learn Tanya. The Mendel said that even though he was a Ish Poshut B'Yosef, he wasn't a Moscow. Everyone loved his Tanya Shir because he learned Tanya, he practiced the Tanya. And he started a clandestine cheder, and then he had yeshiva, and v'chulu, had getan. So the Mendel said that at night, he was busy all the time. That man was busy. But at night, you say Krishma Shalamita for 2 hours. 2 hours. And he would cry. So the Mendel said, Reb Avram, was weinst du? All day he was running around, washing Mesidus Nefesh, put his life on the line, kipshutai. Was weinst du? He said, yeah, but getan. It's true. I accomplished a lot today. Before it's schmeckt. In other words, it's smelly. Why smelly? In other words, he felt that maybe he feels satisfaction. He feels something of himself. That's why he was saying Krishma Shalamit. I'm telling the story as an akdama to what we're going to be learning tonight, which is about the avodas Hashem of Krishma Shalamit. But before we go into avodas Hashem Krishma Shalamit, just to summarize what we learned last week. Last week, this Peidik Zion is the beginning of the recipe for tshuva. Ulam derech emes vayosher l'bchinas tshuva tato. What's the derech emes vayosher v'tshuva tato? Just a summary of the Nakuda. The Rebbe said that his father wrote that there's 2 points. The Alter Rebbe said 2 points. One is a person should have rachmanas on himself, rachmanas on his neshama. And the second point was that a person should have a leiv nishbar. And the Rebbe's father brings the whole thing about this. The moon has the Rosh Echad, Rosh Beis. When you learn Kiddush HaChodesh, your head is spinning because it's very hard to figure out the trajectory of the Lavona. And even though the Rambam says it's very simple, I trust that he says it's simple. It's not simple. So the Rambam himself says, Shemesh Yodem Avoy, Reach Lo Yodem Avoy. It's very hard to figure out. There's 2 Roshim in the Lavona. And Api Kabbalah, there's Yaakov and Yosef, Tiferes and Yesoid. Tiferes is giving Rachmim, and Yesoid is giving Gvura to Malchus. And that's in, Derech HaEmes VaYosher. Emes is Yaakov Midas HaEmes, and Yosher is Yosef. Very nice. I guess it said something Api Kabbalah. What does it mean? Such a Moed de Kabir that the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said Now, what's the whole thing of tshuva? The Alter Rebbe said in the beginning of Iggeres tshuva that tshuva is very simple. Tshuva is nothing. Tshuva is very simple. Just to accept Malchus Shemayim. Shaloyech de'oid, accept Malchus Shemayim. We said right in the beginning that tshuva is nothing. Tshuva is so simple that the whole thing is the tshuva is just that he accepts upon himself El Malchus Shemayim, Sheyigmer belibe b'leiv shalom, that he's not going to be murdered by Malchusay, and he accepts the Eibish's Malchus. So what's the Alter Rebbe saying? It's a person says, "I'm accepting El Malchus Shemayim." It's very nice, but what happens 5 minutes later? 10 minutes later? What happens a few hours later? It fizzles away. So how does a person make that this Yirat Tatorah? We're not talking about fancy levels of Yirat. This we'll talk later. We're talking about the basic level of Kabbalah's El Malchus Shemayim. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, the last Hey is Maisa. Just accepting the yoke of heaven. It's very nice. I accepted the yoke of heaven. But then 1 hour later, I have an unbelievable Nisayan. And how do I stand up to it? So in order for this Kabbalah's Malchus Shemayim should be deep, should be emisdik. What does it mean, emisdik? It doesn't change. And an hour later, it won't change. Not emes means today, right now I'm beside just 15 minutes later. Emes means that it lasts. It's here, now, and later. Yosher, what is Yosher? Yosher is, it's an inside thing. It's an inner thing, not I'm being forced from the outside. So in order for this to be emes v'yosher, there's 2 exercises. Just like we know Malchus in heaven, Rosh Hashanah, the whole idea is binyan Malchus, to build up Malchus. Whatever it means, we have this concept, right? That in Kabbalah, that Malchus leisla megarba klum. Malchus, it's got 0. You got to build it. Binyan Malchus. So Yaakov and Yosef, it's giving him Chesed. The Tiferes is delivering Chesed, and Yesod is delivering Gvura. Same thing here. The person has to build up his oil Malchus Shemayim. And there's 2 exercises the Alter Rebbe gives. And the first exercise, what are the 2 basic things in order to build oil Malchus Shemayim? First is to recognize that the Eibishter is a Melech. And the second is to recognize that for me, the greatest thing is to accept the Eibishter's Malchus and to be Eved. So therefore, for this is the 2 exercises. The first exercise too, having Rachmanis on my neshama, Rachmanis on the on my neshama produces that Mida Rachmanis produces that I recognize the El Malchus Shemayim. I recognize that the Eibush is a Melech, and through the Leiv Nishbar, I come to that it's easier for me to give myself over to as an Eved Hashem. And these are the 2 exercises the Alter Rebbe is talking about. Now, the Alter Rebbe says that there's a Zman Mesugel in order to think about the Rachmanis of my Meshama and also to have a Leiv Nishbar. And the Alter Rebbe said, Tikkun Chatzos. But we spoke about this, that Rabbeim said that really the Zman Hazeh, the Zman Mesugel is the time of Krishma Shalamita. Alter Rebbe says, Liz Memori Lechushbena. The time for a person to make a Cheshbon Nefesh is by Krishma Shalamita, which goes very well with what we're going to say now at the end of the Pedic. 4 lines from the top on the page 194. Vaf Mishloy Ober Aloben. Vaf Mishloy Ober Aloben. Odes Vegam Loy Al Oben Misa B'dei Shemaim Shu Etzor Zel Vatolo Kai Gava. Elo Shor Avelis Kalas. Person has a Leiv Nishbar or a Rachmanis, because if he has a Rachmanis on his Nefesh Elokis, has a Rachmanis on Yudke Vavke Lamaila for what he did with his sin, has a Leiv Nishbar because of his sins. But why would he have a Leiv Nishbar if he did something which is so terrible, like an oven, which is a total cut of the Chevel Nachlosai? But if it's Aveda Kala, Afo became Achashim Poigam Ben Hasham of Nefesh Elokis, it's still Poigam. Commercial Begimo Psikas Chavolim Dakim. Kenisker Leo, just like the Alter Rebbe said before, that sometimes you have a rope. He said the neshama is tied up like if a harness, tied up with a rope. If you cut the rope, person goes flying. So if you could cut, either you snip the whole thing in one shot, or you could keep on ripping the strands of the rope, and eventually the rope snaps. So there is one chait which spells out chorus. which a chait that spells kodesh is like cutting the rope in one shot. And then there's smaller chatoim, which you keep on, that's cutting the chavola madakim. So that's also possible. And then a person is going to say, but I don't do any chatoim. All that Amachmitz are saying, let's say I'm good. It's only one thing I keep on doing, repeat. So I'm not so bad because I'm never snapping the chevel. Afo became, Al-Rebbe says, there could be if a person is repeat on the same chait many times, even if it's a chait kal, yochli is begam, balav echot sheish boi kodes amisa. Va'afila bekvelas chait echot pomem rabes moed, even if he's doing one chait many times. Moshe imshal hanovi achatoim laonan amafil oir hashemsh. Kamashkos amchisik of kavshecha. Hey, mavedis chamudas mavdilas bein ashpoz shem nutke vovke baruchol nefesh alakis. That the Navi said that chatoim is like a cloud. So what's the pshat? Pshat is in the nimshal that there could be a cloud which doesn't allow the connection between the yutke vovke and the nefesh alakis. Who kavdolas onan of the chosh chamavdil bein hashemesh laoret v'ladonam Allah. Just like there is a big thick cloud between that doesn't allow the shemesh to come to the audits of ladorim Allah. The Rebbe's mayor, what's the pshat? The sun, the sun is shining, and then you have a cloud. Cloud doesn't allow the sun to come. Laoretz v'ladorim Allah. There's two things. In the Nimshal, we're saying also there's two things. There is that the chait of a person doesn't allow the Oirin Tzach to come to Malchus de Atzilus, and also to his neshama. There's the audits and there's Ladorim Allah. The Moshel, I'm sorry, continue. Derech Moshel. The pasuk continues. There is two things. The Navi says that there's Ke'ov Pisho Echo. Pesha is something egregious. Hatasecha, patos is a osha, is a shoygig, right? It's accidental. So if it's a pesha, the Navi says it's a thick black cloud. If it's chatoisecha, it's a onan, it's a thin cloud. It's not such a thick cloud. Hen avedis kalas shodam dosh bakeves. These are small avedis. A person doesn't pay attention to. Hamavdilas kavdolas onan kal b'kol shaderech hamoshe. If a person will put in front of his windows, it's very sunny, and he doesn't have a big thick curtain, but he has 10 thin curtains. So sometimes 10 thin curtains could do a better job than one thick curtain. Again, it can make the room dark. Just as if you put one mechitza which is thick, it can be even more than one thick mechitza. The same thing is in the nimshal, that there could be avonas that a person thinks they're nothing. That there is certain Avedas, and we find all over Shah certain things that we wouldn't think is so such a terrible thing. Chazal say it's similar to Avedazor Gilarai Shvichas Damim. So there's two ways of looking at it. I mean, one is Chazal a little bit exaggerating. And they just want us to stay away from Lashon Hara. They want us to stay away from some things. So Gemara says in Erechin that the person that the whole daf of Gemara, the Baal Shem Tov, so that the teach from the Gemara, so okay, that's one way of saying. The Gemara wanted to say that saying Lashon Hara is like Avedazara Gilarai Sheichas Damim. The Gemara was a little magzim. But the other way of looking at it is no, the Gemara is telling us the emes lamitosa. But what's the pshat in the Gemara? So there's a Hayom Yom, there's a beautiful story in the Hayom Yom. Hayom Yom tells a story about two people that had an argument, and we don't know, based on Menachem Mendel never happened, we don't know how that works. But there is some shuls in the Gehet that sometimes people get into an argument. Hmm? Yeah, how could it be? I don't know.
Because we have Shilas and Kasha and Tamchay Tamimim.
Oh, yeah?
Sometimes we have Kasha on the table.
Exactly. But sometimes we have Kasha of Tish and of Beng. So these two guys were arguing, and one guy said to the other one, "If I could, I'd rip you like a fish." So they yeah, that was that was those days. People ate herring, so got a little herring. I give them as a citizen. So it's yeah, yeah. So Hashem called his Talmidim, and he told them to make a circle and they should hold hands. And he held hands with Talmidim, and he told them to close their eyes. And all of a sudden, they started to scream because they saw that the be'emes, what one person said to the other, was really happening. Alamai was ba'olam ruchni, so he was saying it, but really he was not just saying it; he was doing it. It's just in this olam hamaisa, people that are not so sensitive to spiritual things that are happening, they didn't recognize that it's really happening. But Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, when they were holding hands of Baal Shem Tov, they got the perspective of Baal Shem Tov, the way Baal Shem Tov sees. And so it's happening. So when the Gemara says about certain chatoim, so the Gemara is saying that Beruchnius, this thing has in it the idea of Avodah Zorah or Gilei Rayos or Shvichas Damim. It's associated. It's the same thing. Kamoy alom asayim min atzdaka. Machkosav v'shamar l'cha pen yeh davar Belial. The Gemara says in Ksubis that Belial he Avodah Zorah. So the Gemara says that a person has an opportunity to give tzedakah. A beggar comes asking for tzedakah and he ignores the beggar. So that is like over the Avodah Zorah. The Gemara says, "I'm a sapa b'gnus chaveri loshen hora shkula kavod Zorah gilaresh shachas dama." Like I mentioned before, in the Gemara in Erechim that you dalat as well. B'chol hakoyes kilu over the Avodah Zorah. Person is angry is like over the Avodah Zorah. And the emphasis that in Chachmei Yisrael throughout the Doiris, there's Iggeres HaKodesh out there. It explains why a person who's angry is like Eved Avodah Zorah. Why are you getting angry? If a person has real Amunah and the Eibishter will never get angry. It's nothing to get angry about. It's not shaykh to get angry. Elamai, this comes from Avodah Zorah. That's why shaykh that he gets angry. Pain. And again, person that feels the presence of the Eibishter, molecule orders it can never be a gas ruach. If it's a gas ruach, that there is something of Avodah Zorah. It smells of Avodah Zorah. Kehin rabbis b'gemara v'talmud Torah keneged kulam k'mayim erazal v'yiter HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Avodah Zorah gilaresh shachosam v'lo v'yiter al bittul Torah. So if sometimes a person feels very good about themselves. So they say that I'm having a hard time to have it. Come on, I'm treating my neshama so good. My neshama is in Gan Eden of their Welt. And my neshama with me is just like I treat my neshama so well. So you're telling me that in order to build, to Teshuvah Tata, the hate Tata, to bring back the hate Tata is Maisa, in order to Tashuv, to bring back the hay, which is Malchus, which is Maisa, Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shemaim, I should practice these two exercises. I should practice the exercise of Rachmanas and Leiv Nishba. And why should I have Rachmanas? Because look what I did to all the elements and to my neshama, and I have Rachmanas, I have Leiv Nishba. I didn't do anything. I'm a good guy. So the Alter Rebbe says, but sometimes there are these there may be a person wasn't over ambitious. He didn't sleep with an Eishes Ish. Okay? He didn't mevatel mitzvahs mila or korban Pesach, but he might have been involved in one of these other things, which Beruchnius has that thing. So therefore, a person has a koyach from that to have Rashmanas on his neshama, because the neshama is sensitive. The neshama does feel. So when the Talmidim are holding hands with the Baal Shem Tov, they could see that what this guy says, that he's doing it, that it's happening. So the neshama is sensitive. So neshama taka. Neshama it's a big rachmanis on the neshama.
I mean, if you're looking at the other language, so hey, mamish covered the Sarah shift down. Like the word mamish.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Geen sidra b'krishma shalamita lekabel alav dalad Mrs. Bezin. Chazal said, and the emesis, the whole idea of krishma shalamita is only a little mention in the Gemara. But the Chachmei Emes made a very big deal out of it. That Arizal was mataken, special thing to say, b'shas krishma, the imchatosi, avisha peshaiti, pagamti, b'is yud, pagamti, b'is hey, pagamti, b'is vav, pagamti, b'is hey, and then areini mekabel alai, chulu v'chulu. So, l'chein sidra b'krishma shalamita, l'kabel lov, dalad Mrs. Bezdin, b'alvat shal piasoid, kol apoigem b'is yud, shal shem yud kebav, kekilin schayv skila, Pogem boys hey killen schrijf schrijf boys bob killen schrijf herif boys hey achrona killen schrijf chanak. So it's takazel pisoid. What's pshat mavad shal pisoid? That ever says person's going to say they told me I should do tshuva every night. Today I was actually a pretty good guy. I don't remember any avodas I did today. Today I was a good guy. So why are you asking me today to do tshuva? I mean,
Rabbi, could I just skip Tachman?
Exactly. So there is taka biur that the Alter Rebbe says in Perik Chavtes that sometimes a person has a timtum alev, and he says, "But I already did tshuva." I said, "No, because they want you to do a stronger tshuva. They want to pick you up in a higher level of tshuva."
Maybe yesterday's tshuva wasn't good tshuva.
Yeah, he says that yesterday's tshuva was good for yesterday. Today they want you to do a higher level of tshuva. But here the Alter Rebbe is saying a different thing. Not that answer. That the emesis that there is chatoim that are very slight, but lapoil they're poigim in the yud and the hay and the vav and the hay, and therefore that Israel said that every night a person should say to say this nusach vatal krishme. So what did he do? He was poigim ba'ois yud tefila in hay tzitzis vav and tefila ois hay v'chulu. So how does that happen? So just the nekuda shebenakuda is that yud. What's yud? Krishma. The idea of Krishma is yud. That there's nothing. The idea of Krishma is a person should have echad Hashem. Have no worries in this world. I'm not worried about anything. I have no daigas, I have no worries, I'm not anxious about anything because there's Hashem Echad. So when a person is mevatel the mitzvah of Krishma, so there's a begam and the ois yud, person puts on film. Film is the avodas hamoichin, shibud hamoichin, that the person's moyach was excited about elokus. And that's the idea of putting on film, shibud hamoyach. So a person that didn't do the spiritual thing, he put on film. He didn't do the spiritual thing of film. It's poigim in the hay. Vav is the feeling of midas, which is associated tzitzis. Tzitzis is Risa Moses Chartim Kol Mitzvah Hashem. And tefillah is the Hechroina, which is a Kabbalah cell, which is oisius and allows a person to do the mitzvahs with kavanah. Mezeh yochel hamaske little mid l'shar avoynes v'chatoim l'bitl toile keneged kula. I figured tonight, if we have a few minutes, that's why I made copies. There's a beautiful mimer from the Rebbe Rashab. And instead of giving an overview, we could learn it in a Venex, a moiridike geschmacke shtickle. Yeah. I didn't make so many copies that we can look in together. Yeah. Excellent. Give it to Shmuley. Give it to Shmuley here. Just skip the first few lines because that's not negated to us. Skip 4 or 5 lines. צריך להקטין מה שנסבור להיל בעדלת עניונים בחושב בקרישמה של המיתה, שהם הדלת פגם כנגד דלת אויסס יוד כבבקן, נסבור להיל שמשקושב, אם פגמת באויס יוד וביטל קרישמה, היינה בהדר עבודה דקרישמה, דעבודה דקרישמה הוא דיוק ובנפש הייחוד ההי אחד, השם אחד, וריבור השם ועוד מחוץ לעבוד, איך שיש האורס הוויה בעולם מהווה מחייס, העולם שהוא העיקר, ממילא לא יהיה העולם תופס מוקם אצל, ולא יהיה נחשב אצל עיקר כלל, בפרט הייחוד ההוויה אחד, שהעולם בוטל למציס לגמרי, בהדר עבודה אז העולם תופס מוקם אצל, ונחש אבל עיקר. וזהו סיבה סריבה עתיד והשקיע בעולם, בענייני העולם. If a person works on their midah of echod, so they have never daigas, never tirdas, that what to be worried about, they have no anxiety, no worries, else is good. But a person that's not working on the echod, so memela, the world is teifas mokim, and they have yeah. So they have a lot of tirdas, and they're shaku and yoni olam hazeh poigim b'is yud, shebchinas ayin the chochma, the masa bereishis, the ubchinas bittel. Ve'oyne shel zeh hu skila shenasa liboy ke'even ve'enoi kli klal alakus. Punishment malamayla for such a person is that their heart turns into a rock. So that Izal was metaken, that a person says areini mekabel ala iskila. It's like very harsh. A person says areini mekabel ala iskila. What are we in Saudi Arabia over here, where they still practice skila? So the thing is that he's saying over here that the pshat is that the person, Rahman al-Islam, when he's doing something that's involved in a pagam and yud, so they get an oynish, and Melamayla, they have liba ke'evan, leva evan. It's a terrible thing. Many times we know exactly what it is, we experience it. That the liba metumtum ke'evan, that means that anything spiritual, anything godly does not touch me. It's not a pastrami sandwich will touch me, a bottle of beer will touch me, a kokish cake, but the lakus, zero. That could be an oynish from a person that's not working on his midah of yud. He was poigim the midah of yud. So when a person says that any mekabel skila, so with that, he's moired rachamim, malamayla, to take away that he shouldn't have a lev which is full of evan, shouldn't be a heart of heaven. Al derech ze yuven gam ken second thing, bekam a beza hey rishon Hashem tutke bavke sheyesh shakosim bekam to by say bebitl tfilin vinyan dini yedu da hey rishon hu bechinas bina vinyan asage vis banas begudul Hashem beirach verech l'shmask inyan hate but yutfes viklet etzle oidelaki, that the midah of hay is to understand the Eibishter well. Al yedei arichos says boinanus v'asage toive begudul Hashem ari ba'av krish beish the toikev bislavas l'lukus bina davke kedu the bina ave rabbe b'chinas ave b'rish beish the chochma b'chinas bittel davke b'lishum ispailas b'lishum murgish klal kim b'chinas devekas. The emes the ave of chochma is much greater, but it's a different type of ave. It's bittel, it's bilti spailas, bilti murgish kim b'chinas devekas halavishu l'mayla masage mamid ruhu the bechinas ayin adain umer shem gile oir l'kimamesh avabina eliyoisa bechinas asoga l'chenu bechinas ava berish beish b'murgish. There's a certain mile in bina. Bina is not bittul, but there's a mile because it's not bittul. There's a hargosha, so there's a fire. Kuma hefresh bein avodas hakoinim lavodas alavim. The koinim beruus bechashoy davke avla lavim. We say avidosam la roma kola b'shir v'zimra b'spalos v'slavas gedoyla v'ksiv v'avad alevi hu b'chinas bina v'mitzvah so inya mitzvah tefillin kidu the tefillin hey and amshachas hamoichem v'ikra amshachas hamoichem le'eme the ikar mashachiva kol adam hey in tefillin de Rashi, which tefillin de Rashi is opposed to tefillin de Rabbeinu Tam and Ayvet Shmushirabbe is b'chinas einma k'mashkosa v'priyetz chaim v'void the inyan ha-tefillin hu l'shabbat moicha v'liba k'mashkosa v'seif shabben and perik v'malab the bottle they call it b'chinas asmasa v'yanosa shabanaf shel kis b'chinas chacham v'nosa shel ein tzay barak ul'aynu shaloi l'shtamish v'chachmasa v'nosa shabanaf she'bilti l'shem levade v'b'chinas asog v'zboinus b'lakus. So that means the bottom line, and he's dedicating his bina that it should be only used for godliness. Azboinus b'lakus v'chen li bottle they call it b'chinas adasha b'nafsho hen avoid b'chinas chabacha b'nafsho yovi gam kim l'leiv b'chinas ava v'yedi b'zgal s'leiv avgam b'zeh hainu she'enim avatel Bechinas Chochma, Bina Shebenafshe, Lelikus. Lies of Bechinas Zog, Bizbanas Lashabit, Moich of Libel Hashem Lavad Adrabe, und Neuse Moich Vedaite, Linyone Oilam. He's spending his mind, he's dedicating his mind to Linyone Oilam. Wow. In Bedibius Chakmus, Bemaso Maten, Oi Basogas Atoiv Shal Linyone Oilam Shebehemes, Ein Ze Toiv Klal Klal, Hu Neuse Daitoi, Basogat Atoiv Hagashmi. He's spending a lot of time to understand Toiv Hagashmi. Umamela, who also gemutrid beze, v'nimshechach eze. Oy bederach klal, basogas inyone oilam. Kamoy lahasik inyonem tivim, v'doy meshu osik binyonem eilav, v'adeze neufel b'tayves gashmi, v'spailas rish be'eish zora, v'inyone chemdes avle el mazeh b'tayves chumrim, ki isu b'shem ha-Rambam zal, sha'oisik b'chochmas chitzonius, even he's not doing anything wrong. He's just learning. He's reading the science section, the Time magazine, and in the New York Times. Chochmas hateva kedoyma v'seichel anushi levad soifa neufel b'taybas. V'zo oynish sreifa beruchnis. V'unya seifa sanefesh rotzaloyma be'eish zoro de klipa. So that's the second step. That it could be that a person was poigim in the ois hey arishoina, which is bina, which is that instead of dedicating the moya chabina is the murgishes to understand something well, to take it apart, and not just the gedank. So instead of dedicating and understanding elokus, he dedicates his mind to understand the Olam Hazeh well. His punishment is sreifa. What's sreifa? That lamaila they allow that his heart should get filled with eish zor of klipa. So through Krishma, through saying moeder rachman in Krishma. So he's cleansing himself from this eish zora. Ken al derech zeh yesh pagam gimel boizvod. The shem yut kevavke k'mashkosav im pagam te boizvod b'bitl tzitzes dine vov the shem avaya hem b'chinas amidas ta'apa v'yira shem bizgalas lev shenol de min asechel v'asoga de moich bina mitzvahs in your mitzvahs tzitzes dine amar azal ein tzitzes aloshen yoytze meitzitz men acharakim also means to see b'chinas is galus. Ishlama shem b'chinas midas unyan agili kiyudua b'inyan ve'ele omnam tzitzis unyan b'shachas ha'moichan l'midas b'chinas ve'hein b'chinas moichan di ibur moichan di yinika k'mashkosa makamach az ha'hefesh ben tefillin l'tzitzis l'tefillin moichan the godless v'chein seder levisho tefillas talis cotton which is the lowest level b'chinas ibur v'achar talis godl which is yinika. Difference of a baby who's Iber Yanika is a very big difference. Iber, when it's pregnant, is garnished. When Yanika is already nursing, it's already. So there is the Pchinas Iber, Pchinas Yanika, and Pchinas Katlas, and Pchinas Gadlas. So Shakach Tfila Shameich the Gadlas. But please, Yuvan, Ma She Tfilin, Hembe, Hey Arishoina, Pchinas Bina, Allah Yudud, Yin Tfilin, I'm Shakas Amoich Hamazah. Climate Azala, Kajbarach Manech Tfilin, the Koil Pchinazah. In Canada, they moichen film b'chinas moichen the zav, and by say lafi anal nechel yoshem b'chinas moichen the gadlus, the gadlus ikaru b'chinas moichen. B'midas enak mashenigrorim nimshach machar moichen. V'hem b'ofer achel legamri b'chinas midas aneldim seichel. Aval tzitzis is shehem b'chinas ibur v'yinika v'unyem mutba murgish b'chinas u iker b'chinas hamidas. ואם יש כמויכם גם כמקום הכהקל השייך למידס בלבד ולא יעצמי המויכם. I think in Kamoshi's board, I think in Pashto Isis, what he's saying is that avoidas hatfilin and avoidas hatzitzis tfilin, which is the idea of the avoida beikar avoidas hatfilin is to be meshabed the moyach. The moyach is beikar. When we say moyach, you're talking bina, which is the excitement of understanding something well. So that's emesis.
Shalyad is
Right.
yeah.
And then there is tzitzis. Tzitzis is representing the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs has to be done with ava v'yida. So that's already the way the understanding of Elokus affected the heart, that there should be midas mamish. shame Yutke Bovke, Pchenes Amidus, Vamoich Shalom Yedu, the Lamed Veschuta, Lamed Beis Sivis Chochma, Imkene Pchenes Moichen, Chochma Bina. Let's skip the brackets, V'yesh Lomar, a canal that sits on Shachas Amoichen, Aval Hainu Shem Shachalis Moichen Amidus, V'ayim Ashkosu Besider, V'oslam, Tzitzis Dalat, Tzitzi Eitzum, Adalas Konfes, Agilu, Dalat Chayis, the Makovish Ein, Gimel Midus, Chagaz, Mal, Uvagos, Ladrushan Amavur, the Lamed Beis, Chukim, the Tzitzis, Am Shachis Kovid Elot, Shem Pchenes Kovid Ato, Pchenes Badal Chayis. Lafi Zeh Shlem, Shem Amoichen, Al Shem Shachas Amoichen, Lis Ladies, Ha Midus. Look in the brackets, but feel name Moichem Atzmim. Betzitzes El Pchenes Moichen Amalidim Amidus. Zgalos Amidus. Lisha Iker Behem, Pchenes Midus. Kamoshes Bar Lachain, Beder Aklal, Pchenes Vov, the Shem, Yutke Vov, Keva Begam, Behem, Shenivkuma, Midus Eros, Achomrius, Shafa Pishem, Bemisotoide, Tetaives, Achila, Sheichel, Betaive, Shenikra, Achila Gasa, Lamalas, Bitnam, and Kahalitani, the Ace of Arosha. Kamoikim b'shor tai b'shori tai v'zav beheta shubachem gadol kebehema b'yoyse b'chem midis achzoris v'letzicha lidroif l'chaya re'eyu l'chaye v'lelochus al dal ve'evyon klal u'kahai gavna. So a person, instead of working on his midas toivus, again we're saying here midas toivus, all midas toivus come from a yid. If a person has tochen, an eibushter, a person that's a religious Jew has an anchor for their midas toivus. A person that doesn't have an anchor for the midas toivus, maybe killing a third of the world is a good midah because there's not enough sustenance and not enough food. So you kill a third of the world, it'd be a very good thing. You're doing a favor to a lot of people. Like all kinds of meshugana things that people could think. So b'chlal. But here in the Maimah, when we're saying Midas Toivus, we mean the Midah of Avos Hashem and Yidis Hashem. That's Midas Toivus. So instead of working on his Midas Toivus, Midah Toiva means Ava. And Yira, he's allowing that his Midas should get involved in Taiva in this world. So, Oyna Sharuchni Lazeh, Hu HaPagam, Hu HaSayif Beherig, Hayna Lohosir Erosh Men HaGuf. Vinyana beruchnis samashu hubdul ispailas asog b'moyach min alev legamri. The gam shamasa gesanyin alaki basog shabamoyach heitiv mispal al ze b'moyach. Oishenisames etzle emes b'hoido b'moyach. Sometimes he understands very well. He understands a godly nekuda kishmak. It's imkol ze ein ze noigeh l'libe klal. Kol ma shamakinu masag elakuz v'hoilach achatayvis libe kebehema. Vezeu ahepech mashizbar liel b'mitzvah tzitzis shemashachas hamayich al midas. The kan ein alev mispol klal masaga shebamayich. When a sibus is gabris midas roes, ein mesoyrin midas ave v'yira nefesh elkis. Vezeu sibah ma sheyesh kam ma sheoiskim v'shoiktim masagas lakus v'yoidim asigim b'moyich makom makom harim shachem achastayvis lube v'oisim maisim uchuorim li matzar leruchem klal v'ayim v'neitis gabris Hamidus achumres nefesh abahamas nefesh alakis v'deiz nifred hamoyach me'alev asher asogas hamoyach in a poilus pailus b'midas shebalev klal. So this kilo, his head was chopped off from his heart. So the head is a head. In skila segornish geblieben, there's not a head and there's not a toe left. It was stoned. Shenkin here. This is that was Messiah. They chopped the head off from the goof. The head is here and the goof is here. Elamai, the head is not mechuber with the goof. So there can be a person that's his punishment. Lazois gam im osak besoges nyon alakus masak kus heitem mechem makom makom nimshach achrei tavas alev asak is monash menachem pelos it is believe. Abgam adalit. So again, so that is a person has rachmim on himself and he wants to expunge this punishment that he has malamaila. So therefore he says in Krishma in Pagamti Ba'izvav and in the Mekabel Alai Kilu to get rid of this Oynish Malamaila. And the fourth thing we want to get rid of is the Pagama Hadalad who Ba'isay Achrena Bittel Tfila, meaning the Dalad the Heachrena who Pchinas Malchus, Kidu Pchinas Adibur, Dibur Atoy, Dibur Atfila, who in Yekabala Samach Shemaim Lakam Retzena Basis Mitzvah Sunnah Rabba Mamash Kaponim. Zinyan atfila shebchinas amlo shevisa v'demamti doimem v'balasam achshamayim v'apkam ez Hashem pachel l'kim l'negedena v'helach v'shlius tipel beprikasoil Malchus Shemaim Lagamri, Apoigim Beis Acharona, V'Oinish Alzehu Chenek. What's Chenek? Shenyone Beruchnis, what was the Begashmis? That they would take Hashmata, a hard one, and then a soft one, and two people would surround, they'd wrap it in his neck, and one guy would pull to his right, the other one to the left, and then the oxygen didn't flow, and the person died from that. That's chenek. So what's beruchnis chenek? What's chenek? V'oinish azahu chenek beruchnis shemenei ma'akav es hevel alev shalim shech b'dibur nicha groini shadibur hu iding nicha groini shadibur b'chinas helam v'estel gerachel at neged zizah k'mashkos ha'makamacher v'chen yesh begam v'yisei ayde menias ma'is tzedakah shebeyachron et tzedek Hashem v'kagam nashor begam protim v'protet tzurufim l'shem Havaya. Shulkum yeshayin esruchnis shuba menag the lumazah shemakabel yinik yeserim b'gam zeh v'tikol achol b'gam b'chlav b'frat hu shehusa b'vide zois in pagamti. These four only dugmas. Every one of the 614 mitzvahs, 613 mitzvahs. Every one of the 612 mitzvahs. So every one of the mitzvahs has a shaykhis, a pnimis and yonim. And sometimes a person could understand Sadover Alomin Minyona, and a person sometimes doesn't understand. But to the Chachmei Ha'emes, it was very clear every mitzvah from the Tayag mitzvahs, which one has a shaykhus to the Yud, which one has a shaykhus to the Hey, which one has a shaykhus to the Vav, and which one has a shaykhus to the He'achroin. And this that Arizal said, in Pagamti, Bebitel, Krishma, Bebitel, Tefillin, or bebitul tzitzis, or bebitul tefillah, because l'choyed is dugma nokat. Give an example. A person could have sinned something else. No, when we say at night, it's only these four sins. If it did any other sins, I'm good. These four, no. These four, because these four is an example, and no one gets offended when we talk about that. Other things get offended. I spoke about the Shabbos. I was telling someone a whole thing about being kind to family members. So he tells me, "What are you talking about family members? Why didn't you talk about me and my wife?" So I told him, "Yeah, I'm talking about you and your wife. I just didn't want to be offensive." So that is, I just didn't want to be offensive. He picked four things that are very clear: the connection to the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. But Be'emes, the old Tayag mitzvahs is nichlal in here, and now they're saying that every night the Indian of Krishma Shalamitas as man mesugel, it's a good time to be memorial the chushbon and to practice the midah of rachmanis and the midah of leiv nishbar. That through these two things, these two exercises of rachmanis and leiv nishbar allows the person to deepen their Kabbalah's oil, Malchus Shemayim, and with that, the tshuva becomes a strong tshuva. The Hey Tatah, which Hey represents the Malchus, which is Kabbalah's oil, Malchus Shemayim, Toshuv, the Zohar says Toshuv, Hey, to return the Hey. So with these two exercises of Rachmanis and Lev Nishbar, a person is Matzliach.
So what is it exactly he's having a comment on?
Rachmanis is the Shama. That's one thing, and also he has a rachmanis on the Lamaila, on the Matzilus, which gets affected by his chatoim, that gets cut off from Megillah of Oirein Sof. So therefore, he has a rachmanis on himself. That's the two examples. Meir l'Ordzel Adorim Aleh. He has a rachmanis on himself, which he's from the Dorim Aleh, and he also has a rachmanis on the Oretz Al Yoina. And these two midas, through the Rachmanis and through the Lev Nishbar, he strengthens the Tshuva and Kabbalah Sal Malchus Shemayim.
Why is it called Rachmanis Klape?
Because he did it. It was his Maisa. Because when he cuts, it's not only his neshama that gets cut, also the way it's in Olam Atzilus, it gets cut from the Gilu of Oirein Sof, the way it's in the Yud Hey Vav Hey in Atzilus. So he caused it. As a Rachmanis. Yeah.
He's feeling bad for them.
Yeah, because he caused it. So, Rachmanis. Like we was talking about Motzei Shabbos, that when David HaMelech found out that Achimelech and 85 members of the family got killed because of him. And then Avyosor, the son of Achimelech, came running to tell David the Melech what happened. So for the rest of his life, he had Rachmanas and Avyosor. Avyosor was always very close to David the Melech because, he felt responsibility, even though he did nothing wrong. Doeg Adoimi went and told Lashon Hara, he felt Rachmanas. Sayyid feels Rachmanas as Nefesh Elokis, and feels Rachmanas on Olam Atzilus because of what he caused to them. So Mela, this Rachmanas has a strong koyach. L'chaim.
After Marek, we need some guys to bring all the boxes downstairs.
It's not even like active it is. It's more neglectful than I say.
Right.
Even less.
They're very, all these four, man.
You think it's very cold? It's not. What
Mhm.
if it was, an actual list?
Right. He's picking dafka things that are kal shebekalim.
Yeah.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
we were talking